And I'm talking Batman Crusader, and I'm ranking all 10 episodes of Season 1 starting now. Welcome back to the Nerd Social. I'm Nathan. So, I already reviewed the first season of Batman Cape Crusader, and you can find my review up there. So my rank is going to involve spoilers. If you haven't seen the episodes, all the episodes, go and see them now. And with that, spoilers ahead. Alright, so my number 10 pick is in Be a Villain, which is episode 2. So all the episodes are quality, which is why I gave the season such a high ranking. The spoiler-free logline for this one is when a glamorous movie star disappears, Batman and Detective Montoya find themselves tangled up in the dark web of a mysterious Avenger haunting the soundstage. As the logline mentions, this introduces Renee Montoya and her new Rubenesque character design, which is pretty cool. We also get to see her competency as a detective. I like the grounded take on Clayface in this episode as well, as apparently I'm more in line with the original comics also than the animated series, the cartoonish Clayface in the animated series. We also found out that Lucius Fox is Batman's lawyer in this episode. And this being the second episode, we get another hint at Harvey. This Harvey is sleazier than the one in the animated series, and also the Nolan trilogy when he hangs out with the cops. Otherwise, for the most part, it's mostly forgettable for me because I'm not that interested in the Hollywood plot, or I've seen similar issues explored better in other Batman movies or in the Batman the Animated Series. Specifically, the lesson at the end of this one is very similar to the one in the episode Mean Seasons, an episode of the New Adventures of Batman with Calendar Girl. So that's why it's at the bottom of my list. So my number 9 is Nocturne, which was the 8th episode of the season. The spoiler-free logline for this is when children start going missing at a Harvey Dent campaign event, Batman sleuthing into the underbelly of a local carnival. Hosting it uncovers something far more sinister. So this was a fun but slight episode. It was interesting to see an aged down Nocturna from the comics. We also see Killer Croc and Leslie Tompkins in this episode as well. At the end of this episode, since this is the 8th episode, we also see the origins of Two-Face as Harvey's scheming and sleaziness and corruption comes to a head. There's 2 supernatural episodes in this season, and the season in general mostly grounded until these episodes. This is the weaker of the 2 for me. I would say, apart from the death that happens in this episode, this is perhaps the best fit with the original Batman the Animated Series, even down to all the kids that show up, the Robin cameos, to basically every single person who's been Robin. Even Stephanie Brown, I think, shows up in this episode. I wonder if there's a producer signaling that this show won't have a Robin character, so that's why they basically had all of them in this episode. But yeah, it was a fun episode, but it was, like I said, a slight episode. My number 8 is The Night of the Hunters, which was episode 4. Spoiler-free logline for this is when Mayor Jessup assembles a task force to catch Batman. Detective Montoya is put in charge. Detectives Flass and Bullock take matters into their own hands in an attempt to trap Batman, putting Gotham into a fiery jeopardy. Yeah, this is also when in this episode, we get to see that this Bullock is very different than the Bullock from the Batman animated series. He's not just bumbling, he's corrupt, very corrupt and sleazy, even in a worse way than Harvey. This episode was also interesting because of Firebug. Batman, the animated series, would have made him more adorably quirky, but seeing his mind, seeing what it looks like through his mind was just disturbing, which I appreciated. We see Harley in this episode as well, and it's the second time we get to see Harley, friend of Barbara and the consultants of the police. The trap plot was fine, I guess, in this episode, but I guess what was most interesting was Batman starting to develop a relationship with when they both save kids from the burning building. And my number 7's pick is Kiss of the Catwoman. This was the 3rd episode of the season, and the spoiler logline for this one is after her multimillionaire father goes to prison, leaving her strapped for cash, thrill-seeking dilettante Selena Kyle turns to a life of crime as the daring Catwoman evading the law at every turn. Batman hatches a plan to end her crime spree while 2 renegade police detectives intend to see that she uses up all her 9 lives. So it's another light episode following the second episode. Bullock and Flask are let off their leash because they set up this episode as heroes because they kill Firebug. It was fun to see Bruce Wayne let the mask slip and punch someone at the beginning of this episode, which landed him in therapy. This was also the introduction of Harley Quinn. I had hoped to see much more of her during the season. It was cool to see she's very competent at her job and sees through Bruce even after she can't guess his secret. It's nice to see Bruce's backstory differently, as Alfred suggests more therapy for him. I also appreciated the introduction of Selena Kyle. They typically go with her being poor, but sometimes they go with the down on her luck socialite story they went with here. Her comics accurate suit was also pretty cool. And also at the end of this episode, her maid Greta double-crossing / taking what was hers was also very hilarious. All right, so my number 6 is In Treacherous Waters, which was the first episode. Spoiler-free logline for this is a series of explosions rocks Gotham. Batman finds himself in the middle of a turf war between rival crime bosses Rupert Thorne and Penguin. Meanwhile, Commissioner Gordon and his daughter Barbara look for ways to fix Gotham's corrupt criminal justice system from inside. So, as the line suggests, this is the introduction of Barbara Gordon. She's aged up and she's a public defense attorney and also race swapped in this show, and so is her father. This also is the introduction of Dent and his sleaziness, his run for mayor. They gender swapped Oswald Cobblepot for Oswalda, and it was very cold to see her killing one of her children in cold blood to protect her empire. It was definitely a signal in this first episode that this is going to be a different show, and this definitely wasn't a kid's show. And the episode ends with Batman losing, and the police station being blown up, which was definitely a change from the animated series. So it was a good start. They had a lot of homages to other movies and episodes in this one as well, especially the dangling of the guy off of the bridge after the scene, after he finds out that the insurance guy is in on the plot for the explosions. But yeah, the next number 5 is Moving Target, which was the 7th episode in the season. The spoiler-free logline for this one is, in the aftermath of a botched assassination attempt on Commissioner Gordon's life, Montoya vows to do everything in her power to protect Gordon. Batman's investigation into who was behind the hit leads him down a rabbit hole with only one clear answer: trust no one. So I hated the politics in this episode. I mentioned this is the one that sticks out the most when I was talking about this in my spoiler-free review of the season. It's a well-written episode, but it just gives lip service to the ideas of like restitution, rehabilitation, restorative justice, and the societal components of crime through Barbara's debate with her father. But it has a very uncharitable view of humanity, coming to a conclusion that some people are just evil, which I really don't agree with unless the person is literally a psychopath without remorse, compassion, or empathy. I appreciated the conversation, but I hated the nihilistic conclusion. The addition of onomatopoeia was also fun. The plot and the chase were interesting until the double cross at the end, which displayed the nihilistic view in this episode. I wonder if they mean to justify Barbara's turn to hitting people as Batgirl instead of helping them as a public attorney from this episode, but I don't know. Number 4 on my list is actually episode 7, Night Ride. The logline for this one is, after a series of robberies in Gotham, Batman wrestles with the possibility that the culprit might be from beyond the grave. Meanwhile, Harvey Dent's morality is tested when a generous campaign donation comes in from a most nefarious source. So yeah, this is pretty high on my list. The nefarious source, of course, is Rupert Thorne. Until this episode, the show was very grounded aside from the fight element in the Clayface episode 2. This episode shows Bruce has really no personal relationship with Alfred. He actually questions Lucius's personal relationship with Alfred, which probably he calls him Pennyworth all the time. I really appreciated the societal commentary about elites and how they literally rob the poor with the addition of Gentleman Ghosts in this episode. The episode also shows when Harvey makes the decision to move from sleazy to full-on corruption to save his campaign after this PR nightmare on the train. So in my review, I also mentioned that they touched on what Bruce could be doing with his money through Lucius Fox. However, it's not really explored as deeply as I would like through the show, probably because this episode was written as a one-off by Mark Bernardin. Hopefully someone else will pick up this thread in season 2 and we'll get a further exploration of this. Papa Midnight is also a cool character that pops up at the end of this episode. All right, so number 3 is the 9th episode, The Killer Inside Me. After Harvey Dent's accident, both Batman and Bruce Wayne must work to stop the DA on his quest for a wrong sort of justice. I wish this serial plot within the season focused on another character besides Dent, because I think I've seen a lot of Dent stories, but I can't say that the last 2 episodes weren't well written. They weren't written very well. I appreciated the way they portrayed Harvey's fractured mind. He didn't start talking differently, just more angrily when the other part of him took over. I think this was an attempt not to stigmatize people with this disorder, with the cartoony way it was handled in the 90s. Dent's killing spree in this episode is pretty wild, and Bruce pressuring Harvey and his regret also was interesting. And the comparison between Bruce and Harvey was also very good in this episode. But this episode, of course, is paired with the final episode, which is my number 2 pick, which Savage Night, the 10th episode, 10th and final episode. In the season finale, the attempt of Barbara Gordon and Batman to keep Harvey Dent safe until he testifies in court leads to an all-out war between Gotham's heroes and villains. So Barbara, in the beginning of this episode, gives Harvey his coin back, which was introduced in the first episode. When she agrees to defend him, Batman gives Renee a phone number, foreshadowing the bat signal, which I thought was pretty funny. I guess like Firebug and also Floyd Lawton / Deadshot, who tried to shoot Gordon at the beginning of the episode, moving target. Harvey dies in this episode, again showcasing that the show is darker and that antagonists / villains don't have infinite lives like they did in Batman the animated series. I think this is also where Bruce starts to treat Alfred more like a human and calls him Alfred. It also gives Thorne a warning at the end, and also we see a bit of Joker at the very end as well. I don't think we see his full face, but we get a hint of him in the second season. All right, so my number 1 pick, where I had wished the season actually focused, is the 5th episode, The Stress of Her Regard. This episode's logline is: someone is kidnapping and brainwashing rich, powerful men in Gotham, and Batman must find out who and why when Barbara Gordon begins to suspect that one of her friends may be involved in the abductions. Her investigation puts her on a collision course with the Dark Knight. Like I said, after this episode, I wished they continued to focus on Harley. I loved Harley's costume / character design in this episode. I didn't mention this earlier, but I appreciated the race swap, and in this show with Harley is definitely a different take. She's definitely a bit calmer and less zany, which I appreciate. Definitely still crazy, just a different kind of crazy. Starts to show Barbara's budding detective skills, maybe setting up again her being Batgirl. Really love the commentary about the rich in this one, which is why it's at the top of my list. I really wish this and what was explored in Night Ride was the serialized plot of the season instead of Harvey. So basically, I wish they swapped out Harvey for Harley. This is the first time we actually see Arkham Asylum in the show as well, and the budding relationship between Harley and Renee was great, but again, I wish they had gone further and not cut off after this episode. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for my list. Do you agree with my picks? Comment down below with your list, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, guys, bye.